Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I hope you are having a wonderful time. In today's session, I'm going to venture on the concept of phonetics and phonology. To begin with, it must also be qualified that how language is studied. To study a language, you need to follow a particular pattern, and that pattern begins with the concept of phonetics and phonology, and then it slightly moves towards another dimension, and that is morphology. From morphology and the construction of words, we plunge into the concept of structures, that is phrase structure and sentence structure, and then we gradually move towards semantics, pragmatics, and discourse analysis. This is how language has to be studied with regard to its respective components. So today I'm formally starting my explanation of phonetics and phonology. In most of the times, we mistakenly assume that phonetics and phonology are one and the same. But it must also be kept in mind that both these areas, phonetics and phonology, deal with the concept of sounds, but their approach towards sounds and sound segments in the form of phonemes is completely different. So today I'm going to explain that anomaly. Phonetics. What is phonetics? First and foremost, it must also be explained that what do we actually imply by this term phonetics? Phonetics is actually the study of speech sounds. Now, it is also very much pertinent to qualify, explain, and interpret this definition and notion that what do we mean by this term, the study of speech sounds. When you say or whenever you refer to the idea of speech sounds, you must also keep in mind one thing, that the study of speech sound means speech sounds along with their features. We study individual speech sounds with respect to their features. That's the idea of phonetics. In phonetics, we take minimal distinct units. First and foremost, we need to comprehend this idea of a minimal distinct unit. What do we actually mean by this term? Minimal distinct unit. Minimal distinct units are actually phonemes. Phonemes are minimal distinct units. Minimal means they are individual. Distinct, they are separate from each other. Each phoneme is different from the other. Each speech sound is different from the other speech sound. And at the same time, they are separate, distinct units on the basis of which you can distinguish between one word and the other word. It means by replacing one phoneme with another phoneme, you can alter the meaning completely. Now, phonemes. We study phonemes, individual phonemes in the study of phonetics along with their feature. You should also remember that these speech sounds or phonemes are meaningless. They are not meaningful. When you say they are meaningless, it means that they do not convey any meaning in isolation. Rather, their meaning is only comprehended and understood once they are put into a particular context. For example, we have a phoneme, let's say t, or let's say k, or ch. These are three distinct minimal units and they are completely meaningless. They are completely meaningless. They do not convey any idea, any meaning. But when they are put in a particular context, for example, the very first one, take, t. This t is put into a word take. This take is actually the alphabetic word, and this take is the phonemic realization of this alphabetic word. So this is T, alphabet, and this is T, phoneme, speech sounds. So you must remember one thing, that individually they do not have any idea, rather they have to be put in a particular context. Now let's elaborate the idea of phonology. Now, what is phonology? I told you in the very beginning that phonetics is the study of speech sounds along with the features. And when we study speech sounds in phonetics, we study them individually, separately, in isolation, along with their characteristics and features. What is phonology? Phonology deals with the system of sounds. System of sounds means that every language has a specific system of sound. For example, English has a completely different sound system of language. The Pashto has a completely different sound system. Urdu has a completely different sound system. What is so different about English language? In English language, the problem is that the alphabets and the phonemes are completely different. I would qualify this notion later, but first you need to understand one thing, that in English language, alphabets are not the indicators of the pronunciation of words. For example, we have such cases like knowledge. Apparently, when you look at the word, there is K, alphabet. But when we pronounce this word, we begin with phoneme N. That's the problem. I would give you another example, a very good example. For example, we have a word, chemistry. If you look at the initial two alphabets, C and H, it is pronounced as K. The alphabets are CH and the phoneme is K. If you write the same CH, or if you want to appreciate the same sequence in another word, like let's say church or chirping, over here this CH combo is represented with the help of phoneme Ch. So the sound sequences might be the same, but the phonemes are different. This is the problem. This is how we refer to the concept of system of sounds. It deals with an idea that how a native speaker unconsciously knows about his L1. For example, what should be the first phoneme, what should be the second phoneme, third, fourth, and so on and so forth. That's the idea of phonology. And you must remember one thing, that phonology of every language is different, while phonetics can be generalized. Let me explain this. Phonetics is general, while phonology is specific. General means when you refer to the phonetics or phonetics of any language, it means that this can be applied, this idea of phonetics can be generalized over other languages. As far as phonology is concerned, in phonology we cannot generalize the system of sounds of one specific language onto the other. It means that the system of English is different from the system of Urdu or Pashto and Persian. Same is the case with phonetics. In phonetics we deal with sound system or the speech sound along with their features. So every language has sounds and these sounds have miscellaneous features. But as far as phonology or the system of sound is concerned, it is different from other languages. one language has one sound system, another language has another sound system. So this is a brief account of phonetics and phonology. Now I would start with the concept of phonetics, that what do we actually study in phonetics. So let's begin this. In phonetics, we study the speech sounds. And we call them phonemes. And these phonemes are actually your speech sounds. And we define phonemes as the minimal distinct units, or you can call them segments even. Why? I have already qualified this, that they are different, their features are different, their articulation is different, their manner of articulation is different. We will also be explaining these two, but first you need to understand what do we study in phonetics. So we study in phonetics the speech sounds. First and foremost, if you just slightly recall your memories, in today's session I told you I would be qualifying this, that how speech sounds of English are different from their alphabets. In English, we have phonemes, and we have 44 phonemes. It means that the sounds in English language, or the speech sounds in English language, are 44 as opposed to the alphabets. Alphabets are 26. So you can see the difference. The sounds are 44, alphabets are 26. So it is the problem. This is the complexity which a student of foreign language or student like us often encounters. We are not aware of this fact that the English sound system or the English phonemes are different from the English alphabets as opposed to the other languages. In other languages, the alphabets indicate and represent the sounds, but in English, the alphabets are not the indicators of sounds, rather they are completely different and phonemes are different. So first, we need to understand this concept, that how many phonemes are there and how they have been classified and divided. So let's begin our discussion. Phonemes. We have already explained phonemes. Now I'm going to classify them. In English, phonemes are classified into two broad categorizations. Number one, consonants. Number two, vowels. We sometimes mispronounce this word as vowel. It's not vowel, it's vowel. It's vowel. Now, consonants. Now, consonants and vowel sounds. Now, vowels are further subdivided into three classifications. Number 1, 2, and 3. The first one is monophthongs. Number 2, diphthongs. Number 2, triphthongs. Monophthongs, diphthongs, triphthongs. Now let me briefly explain them. Mono means one. Monophthong means one vowel sound. Individual, single, one vowel sound. Vowel sound. Diphthongs. Diph means two. Two vowels. It means the combination of two vowels. Number 3, triphthongs means three vowels. This is something that you need to understand, that in vowel sounds we have three broad classifications. Number 1, monophthongs, single vowel sounds, one vowel sound. Diphthongs, two vowel sounds. Triphthong, we have the combination of three vowel sounds, and overall we have these phonemes in the English language. We would be studying different consonants along with their features. We would be studying monophthongs, diphthongs, and triphthongs. But for today's session, you need to understand that there are consonants and then there are vowels, and vowels are further divided into three categories. Number one, monophthong, single vowel. Number two, diphthong, two vowels. Number three, triphthong, three vowels. So how do we understand this? We would be covering all of them one by one in the later sessions, and in the next I would also be explaining the concept altogether. So for today, you need to understand what do we actually mean by phonetics, what do we study in phonology, and then what are the different phonemes which we are going to study in the later sessions. So I would like you all to subscribe this channel, stay updated, and remember me in your prayers. Thank you very much for today. God bless you in abundance. Thank you.